Hey, it's Jonathan McGinley, a Maxwell certified coach, speaker, and trainer, and the founder of Intentional Man, a company that exists to give Christian men the tools, community, and coaching to pursue God-sized goals, live intentionally, and build lives of significance. And so in my recent conversations with some different men, I heard a lot of them talk about the difficulty of consistently getting to the gym in the morning, or the difficulty of waking up to spend time with the Lord, just the difficulty of sticking to the things that they want to do because it's hard to get up in the morning. And in fact, I think a lot of these issues that some of these guys are running into, a lot of times can be traced back to the way that they start the morning. So I've been thinking a lot about this in my life as well. And in doing a reflection of some of the past few months, it seems like the times when I start with my mornings off right, my days usually end up being a lot better. I'm sure you can relate to that when you actually think through. When my days start off scrambled or rushed or stressed out, I usually don't stick to my commitments. I usually don't eat as well. I'm usually not as productive at work. I'm usually not as intentional in my relationships. And in the personal development space, you probably hear a lot about morning routines, right? The power of the morning routine. It's definitely become one of those more talked about topics in this space. And I do think it's for good reason. But also sometimes you hear these crazy morning routines from influencers out there, and they just seem insanely unrealistic. Like you hear stories of Mark Wahlberg. I think I heard he gets up at 2:30 a.m. every morning, hits the gym like twice a day. Kobe Bryant used to wake up at 3 a.m. to go work out. You hear, stories of guys who do meditation time and then a journaling time, then they work out and then they do some planning. And their morning routine's like 3 hours long. And for most of us, we're just trying to figure out how to find any extra time in our day with all the different responsibilities and things that we have. But let alone an extra 3 hours seems pretty impossible. So I feel like sometimes when you hear people like this, it can be discouraging, right? And you just end up deciding, like, forget the whole morning routine. I don't have time for that. I don't see the purpose of it. Can you relate to some of that? Have you tried different morning routines only to just slip back into old habits after a couple of weeks? I'm sure you have. I've been there before a lot of times. Have you committed to working out in the morning only to just hit that snooze button multiple times and stay in bed? Like I've been there before, and it can be frustrating because you have good intentions, but you just can't seem to follow through. And so I do believe that the morning routine is a powerful tool. I'd always recommend having some sort of routine that you do each morning to get ready for the day. But you have to find one that works for you. And I think there's also just a different way to think about this. So with Intentional Man, we often talk about living a proactive lifestyle instead of a reactive lifestyle. And so I think that's the whole key and the whole point of doing a morning routine. You want to make sure that you're going into the day proactively and with a purpose and with a plan and with action instead of going into the day reactively, instead of going into the day with passivity. So the morning routine, I think, is honestly one of the greatest tools that you can do that's going to help you do that, to enter the day proactively. So take a moment to think about your mornings. Are you waking up proactively, ready to attack the day? Or are you waking up reactively? Are you waking up with a clear vision of the man that you want to be and what needs to be done that day? Or are you just kind of coasting through into the day and just handling the things when they're thrown at you? So let me paint a picture when I talk about a reactive morning. This is what I'm talking about. So let's say you have to be at work at 8 a.m. You set your alarm for the last possible time that you can wake up. Let's just say that's 7 a.m. And so you think you're going to have some time to shower and eat breakfast and get ready. The alarm goes off at 7. And what do? You hit the snooze button. You're dead tired, so you hit snooze. It goes off again 9 minutes later, and you're still feeling tired. So then you just grab your phone, you start scrolling social media, or you jump on the news, you jump on email, whatever it is, and you start scrolling on there. Then all of a sudden it's 7:30 a.m., and you realize it's late, so you jump out of bed, you get ready as fast as humanly possible, you rush out the door, you didn't eat any breakfast, you didn't pack any food, then you're stressed out on the drive because you're going to be late to work, and so you're speeding down every road, and then when you get there, you're still stressed out, and you just jump straight into your emails. Whatever's the first email there, you just start reacting to it, and you just go into your day stressed out, reacting to the things that are thrown at you. I know that might be dramatic, but I think we've all been there. Does that sound familiar to you? And maybe not every single part of that is what you do, but there's probably times where you can relate to some of those elements or some of those emotions that you felt in the morning, whether you're feeling rushed or you're feeling stressed out. If that's the way to start the day, it's a horrible feeling. And we do it to ourselves all the time because we're not being proactive enough to start the day. So that scenario I just laid out to you is one that I would like to call a reactive morning. That's when you're reacting to the things that are thrown at you. And it's something super easy that we could fall into if we're not careful. So these reactive mornings, they have more effect on your day probably than you even realize. Starting the day stressed, that can carry over into the rest of the day where you're stressed out and all your other things. Not eating breakfast, that can make you sluggish and hungry in the morning hours where you're not as productive, you're not as focused. If you didn't pack your food, that can lead to eating out often for every lunch, which can be expensive. It can also be unhealthy. Jumping right into emails can get you going on a path where you're only doing the things that are on other people's agendas instead of your own, right? So a lot of those things that I just mentioned, they flow from the way that our morning starts. So I want to make sure, I just want to give you some tips on how to be more proactive in the morning instead of reactive. And this is going to be really high level. So you can just take these elements and you can really plug them into your life and figure out how you want to build them out a little more specifically. But for this specific training, I just want to give you some high level things to make sure you're taking control of your morning and make sure you're entering the day in attack mode instead of reaction mode. So let's jump in. So the first way to make sure you're being proactive to start the day, I believe, starts the night before. And what I mean by that is I would highly recommend doing some sort of quick planning session at night the day before to make sure you know your schedule for the day. So I use my Intentional Man Planner. I write in what I plan on doing for every single hour of the day. And I get pretty specific with the time and the location. The more vague that you make this, the more wiggle room that you have, is where you're going to find yourself making excuses or finding yourself distracted. So I try to be really specific on this. So you don't have to take hours to do this part. I'm not saying you have to block out an hour in the evening. This can be pretty quick, but just make sure you're looking at your upcoming day and then setting your intentions and being as specific as you can. So writing down that I plan on being awake at 6 a.m. to spend time with the Lord, then at the gym at 6:30 to do this specific workout. Maybe it's an upper body workout, whatever it is. Be specific with even the workout. And then back home at 7:30 to get ready, to do a quick journal or mindset thing and then get off to work. That's going to be much more effective than just going to bed and hoping I feel motivated to go to the gym when I wake up, right? If I was very specific, if I said this is exactly what I want to do. The other thing I like to do at night, once you have that schedule, is to just quickly review it and set your intentions for the morning. And what I mean by that, just quickly tell yourself what you're committing to doing. So when you go to bed, just say, I am committing to wake up at 6. Right when that alarm hits at 6, I am jumping out of bed and I'm going straight to my God time, whatever it is. But make the commitment ahead of time, I think is the key. Any decision that's left for the morning is usually not a good idea. When you're laying there in bed and you're dead tired, you're most likely not going to make your best decisions. I don't think any of us do. So you want to make the decision ahead of time. When you're excited about the day, when you're planning the day and you're thinking through it, make the decisions ahead of time, commit to doing them, stick to those commitments when you wake up. So that's number one. Get some sort of planning session in the night before, and then set your attention, set your commitments for the morning for exactly what you're going to do. Okay, so another way to build a proactive morning is to have a plan for your alarm clock. How many of you have a plan for your alarm clock? Like knowing what you're going to do the second that thing goes off. Because if you've habitually snoozed your whole life and you're trying to break that habit, you need to get specific and you need to make a plan and you need to anticipate the obstacles and the challenges that you're going to experience. If you can do those when you're in a good frame of mind, you'll increase your chances of success by a ton. It'll incrementally go up. So again, don't just hope that you have the motivation when you wake up that you're going to feel all inspired and motivated to turn it off and jump right out of bed. If that's something you've struggled to do in the past, most likely that motivation isn't just going to be there. That would be being reactive, thinking that we're just going to handle things really well. without being proactive, which means you're anticipating the obstacles ahead of time and you have a plan. So this could look like setting your alarm across the room. We hear about this all the time. That forces you to get out of bed to go turn it off. I've heard, I've even done this before where I have it across the room and I hit it and I go back to bed. So the next thing I would say after setting your alarm across the room is to establish exactly what you're going to do right when you turn off the alarm clock. So make it specific. Actually know exactly what you're going to do. For me, it's this simple. Walk across the room, turn off my alarm clock, then I go and I open my blinds, open the shades in my room, and then I make my bed. So those are the first two things that I do. And I just know that is the exact order that I'm going to do those things. So I walk over, turn off my alarm, go open the blinds, make my bed. I know that's exactly what I'm doing every single morning when my alarm clock goes off. So I'm not saying you have to have some 3-hour morning routine. Just get specific with the little tiny actions that you're going to do after your alarm goes off. So set that and build the rest of your routine down after that to kind of know exactly what you're going to do. So some other things that you can maybe do just to give you some ideas is to, after the alarm goes off, go drink a glass of water. We get pretty dehydrated at night. And so replenishing that water, getting hydrated first thing in the morning helps you wake up. So again, being proactive, maybe you set out a glass of water next to your bed or on the counter, wherever it is. And you just know when I turn off my alarm, I'm going to go drink that glass of water. You could also splash cold water on your face. You could dunk your head under the bathtub faucet with some cold water. You could take a cold shower. Tougher one to actually motivate yourself to do, but very effective if you do it. But those and you could put your workout clothes on right away. You just know, hey, when I turn off the alarm, putting my workout clothes on, boom, that sets your intentions for the day right away. If you could honestly just get up, put your workout clothes on, your chances of actually getting to the gym will go way up. So that's just a tiny step that you can do to increase your chances of success. So those are some simple ideas. Again, I'm keeping this pretty high level so you can kind of think what would work for you. But I don't want you to think that you have to budget 3 hours for this morning routine. But I do encourage you to actually write out and get specific with exactly what you're going to do in the morning and then just commit to doing it. So know when you're going to do it, know where you're going to do it. Then it becomes habitual and you're going to eliminate some of those debates that we have in our minds when we first wake up. That's usually when we lose, when we're trying to make decisions when we're laying in bed. Usually we don't make good ones. All right. So the next thing I would encourage you to do to be proactive at the start of the day is to just stay off your phone when you wake up. The last stat that I read about this said that 71% of Americans check their phones the first thing in the morning. So if your phone's on your nightstand and that thing goes off, it is very easy to grab it. You're tired and you just start scrolling. So, but when you do that, when the first thing you do is go to your phone, you're priming your brain for distraction. You're actually setting yourself up to be more distracted the rest of the day. That distraction is going to carry over into your day because you're telling your brain that when you're tired or unmotivated, that the answer to that problem is to check your phone. So your brain saves that as a response, as the reward. When I'm tired, when I'm unmotivated, when I don't want to do anything, I know my reward, my answer is to go to my phone. That's pretty much what we're training ourselves to do when you do that first thing in the morning. Our brain saves that as a response, and it's going to make it harder and harder to stay focused throughout the day. It can also trigger unnecessary stress when you check your phone first thing in the morning. Maybe you see an email that stresses you out. All of a sudden, boom, you're into work mode. Before you're even out of your bed, you see some stressful email that came in from your boss, and now you're worried about that. Or you get on social media and you see your friends posting from some amazing vacation, and you're just wishing you were there instead of having to go to work, and so you go into work with a bad attitude. It can also, if you're scrolling your phone, just make you late, right? You can end up scrolling longer and longer than you wanted, and it pushes back the time. All of a sudden, you're stressed out, rushing out the door. There's a lot of reasons why you should refrain from your phone in the morning. But setting some sort of hard rule for yourself that you're not going to check your phone until a certain time in the day can be a great way to be proactive instead of reactive. So for me, I know the rule for me is I will not check my phone until after I'm done with the gym. So I get up, do my God time, go to the gym. I'm not even looking at my phone at all until after that. I know that that's a hard rule that I have. which helps a lot. Again, being specific, making rules for yourself, knowing exactly when you're going to check it is a good thing to establish. So last recommendation here real quick is just to do something that gets your mindset right. Something to get your mindset right going into the day. And I, as a Christian man, speaking to Christian men here, I would say that you should absolutely be spending some time with the Lord in the morning in some way. Make sure we're focused on him throughout the day. Make sure that we're living for his purposes and not our own. If we don't spend time with the Lord, it's really easy to go into the day being selfish and doing everything for our purposes instead of his. And so some type of morning routine where you're with the Lord, I think is huge. And honestly, this can be prayer. It can be scripture reading. It can be going out and going on a walk and just talking to the Lord. It can be journaling. It can be reading a book. Again, I'm not saying the exact method. That part doesn't matter to me so much as it does that you're just doing something to connect with the Lord. And I think each of those, disciplines are great in their own way. And I would encourage you to have a mix of them. But just do something that gets your mindset right, where you're hanging with the Lord, where you're spending time with him first thing. So I think you can identify the difference you feel when you wake up and you have a great time with the Lord versus when you wake up and you snooze and then you're on social media for 30 minutes and you rush out the door, right? There's a massive difference about how you're going to enter that day. But so often, that's not the way we actually start the day. So I would recommend doing something in the morning that connects you to the Lord. And then I would also recommend doing something that connects you to your why and to your goals or your dreams or your aspirations. So this could be reviewing a goal sheet. It could be journaling. It could be doing affirmations and visualizations. I know we hear a lot about those. And I'll save some of those details and things for another podcast. But I believe there's something powerful for sure to consistently connecting to your why and, why you do what you do and why it matters to you and why you need to live with a sense of urgency today, why you need to be focused today, why you need to be at your best today. Doing something in the morning to actually get you going in that direction is critical. So again, there's 4 quick things. It's not an exhaustive list. I'd love to hear what you do in the mornings to make sure you're attacking each day with passion and with purpose. But to recap some of those ideas, plan your day the night before and commit to sticking to the morning schedule. Set your intentions the night before. Then make a plan ahead of time for what you're going to do to beat the alarm clock. Have your exact plan. Establish those first few things that you're going to do when you wake up. Then don't get on your phone as the first thing you do when you get up. Make sure your phone is not the first thing that you check. And then the last would be do something to get your mindset right. Spend time with the Lord, connect with him, and then connect with your why and connect with your dreams. So those are 4 simple things that you can do. Again, really high level. Future podcasts and trainings, we'll dig a little deeper into those. But for now, I just want you to think about how you can proactively attack your morning in a way that works for you. So I'd highly encourage you to make sure that you're taking some time to build out just a simple morning routine. If you haven't yet, start simple, build some consistency, and then you can add some things from there. So thanks for joining me today. You were created to do something great. I know you were because God made you and he doesn't make mistakes. So if today's episode was helpful for you, please share it with other people. And also leave a comment with some of your best morning routines and morning habits. I'd love to hear them. So go live a life you're proud of by living intentionally.